Hello everyone, I'm Amod and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video tutorial, we will learn about browser, context and page in Playwright. We will also learn to launch any browser without using any fixture. So in this playlist, we have already created many test scripts without really worrying about how the browser was being launched. We simply used the page fixture in our test, and Playwright handled all the browser setup and management for us behind the scene. For example, in this test, I have not written any step to launch a browser and close the browser. We are just using this parameter, which is page, and based on your config file, it will launch the browser for you. If you have mentioned Firefox, then it will launch Firefox browser for you. If you have mentioned Chrome, then it will launch Chrome browser for you. And basically, you don't need to worry how browser is launched and how it is closed after your test execution. So in this test, I'm using this page, which is basically a fixture. So as of now, you can understand a fixture is a reusable component provided by Playwright, which is responsible to launch a browser before your test starts and destroy the browser once your test execution is completed. And this page is of type page, which has a lot of methods which we can use to perform actions on browser. We have already seen so many methods already. So now if you want to launch a browser without using this ready-made fixture, then we have three-step process. So first of all, we need to require Playwright library, and from that library I need to get the Chromium exported object. So for that I will write require library name is Playwright, and this Playwright library exports many objects, and within that I want Chromium because I want to launch a Chrome browser, or you can get other objects like WebKit or Firefox if you want to launch some different browsers. So if you want to see what are the objects are exported by Playwright, you can use something like within the console.log we have object, and here we have a method keys, and here we can pass require Playwright. Let me run this test quickly. And if you go to console, here you can see a list of all the exported object by Playwright. And from this list, I want Chromium because I want to launch a Chrome browser. To launch Firefox, you can get this object. For Safari, you can use WebKit. So I'm going to store into an object Chromium. So once we get the Chromium exported object, we need to get the browser instance. So let's call Chromium, and here we have a method launch. I need to use await. This I can store in a variable, maybe browser. So this is just the first step. Once we get the browser instance, we need to create a context within the browser, and we can create multiple contexts within a same browser. So we need to use this browser reference, and we have a method new context, and this we can store into a variable context. Once we get the context, we can open a new tab, or you can call page, and you can have multiple pages within a context. So here we need to use context variable, and we have a method called new page, and this you can store into a variable page. You can give any name. Now if you uncomment this line, then basically we are done. We are not using any predefined fixture page here, and obviously I'm missing await for both the statements. Now let me run this test and see if it works or not. Click on run button. So it is launching Firefox, and you could have seen that it has loaded the Google website. So basically, if you don't use predefined fixtures of Playwright, then we need to do all these steps to launch a browser. As I said, we can have many pages within a context. So I can use the same context reference, and here I can create another page, and here I can use page1.go to here maybe facebook.com. So if you run this test now, you will see two tabs or two pages in the same browser window, which you must have seen. Similarly, we can have multiple contexts as well. So if I duplicate these lines, and here I'm going to use context 1, here also context 1. I'm using the same browser reference but two contexts. Here I will use page 3. Here also I will use page 3. Here I can use page 4. Here as well. Context will be context 1. And let me put some wait. So await page dot wait for timeout so that you can see what is happening. So this time it will open two browser windows and two tabs in each browser. Let me quickly run this test. So first window, it is waiting for 5 seconds. A new window has been opened with two tabs. Now if you want to launch Firefox, so instead of Chromium, we can use Firefox. We know that Playwright is already exporting multiple objects and Firefox is one of them. So let's replace Chromium with Firefox. So this time to launch Firefox. Let me run this test. I need to see the execution carefully. To make it more proper, I'm going to add extra weight before the pages. So let's run it. So it's launching Firefox. Google is the first tab. It is waiting for 5 seconds. Then you can see new tab is opened in new window, not in the same window. In case of Chromium, it was launching the new page within the same browser window. But same is not the case in Firefox. So we have seen examples and now let's recap the concepts. So basically, if you want to launch a browser in Playwright without using their ready-made fixtures, then we have three-step process: browser, context, and page. So we need to get the browser instance, which is basically the entire browser application like Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. Once we get the browser instance, we need to create a context within that browser. And a context is like an isolated session which will have their own cookies, storage, and cache. Once we have a context ready, we can open a page inside that context where we can load the URL and perform actions whatever you want to do on an application. You can have multiple pages within a context and you can have multiple contexts within a browser instance. So every context will have their own resources and all the pages of that context will share those resources. For example, suppose in the first page we have logged in into your application and then if you open a new page within the same context, then login information will be shared. That means if you launch the application, then you will be logged in already. But if you create a new context within the same browser instance, then your logged in session will not be shared. You can relate this concept with this example. You must have seen a housing complex where we have many apartments. So that housing complex is nothing but a browser instance. And every apartment within that housing complex is a context. And within the apartment, we will have multiple rooms. Each room is a page. So in Playwright, a fixture is a predefined object or resource that Playwright creates for you before a test runs and cleans up afterward. Test fixtures are used to establish the environment for each test, giving the test everything it needs and nothing else. Page, browsers, context are few predefined fixtures. If you see official documentation of Playwright, on this page, they have listed some predefined fixtures like page. The type of this page is page, and if you click on this link, you will come to this class. And here you can see we have a lot of methods which we have already used, like get by title, get by text, get by alt text, then go to load the URL, etc. Similarly, we have another fixture context which is of type browser context. And if you go to this link, here you will see the method related to this browser context class. Then we have a fixture browser of type browser. And if you go to this link, here you can find methods within this browser class. And here you can see we have methods like new context and new page also. So we can omit one step between. That means we can create a new page without explicitly creating a context, because when you call this new page method, it will automatically create a context internally and will give you, but there will be no way to get new page within the same context because we don't have the reference. So that's all in this video. If you have any doubt, please comment on this video. If you really like my videos, please like, comment, subscribe and share with others. Thank you everyone.